And our first story, President John Dramani Mahama has impressed on the Bank of Ghana to ensure depositors affected by the DKM Diamond Microfinance saga are reimbursed.
The president said this among other key economic issues when he delivered the State of the Nation address Thursday.
President also tasked Parliament to expedite passage of the Deposit Protection Bill towards ultimately sanitizing the microfinance sector in the long term. Making specific reference to the DKM saga, he blamed the microfinance crisis on the central bank.
While our laws place this matter squarely in the ambit of the Bank of Ghana, government has a concern for the poor and suspecting Ghanaian clients who deserve to have been protected by a more robust inspection and supervisory regime by the central bank. I'm aware that the Bank of Ghana has commenced liquidation proceedings in respect of DKM, and I believe that this process should be part of a comprehensive package that looks at the protection of the livelihoods of especially small depositors without rewarding the reckless conduct of the microfinance company. This August House has a role to play in fast-tracking the Ghana Deposit Protection Bill, which would protect small depositors' funds in a similar situation like this in the future.
President Mahama announced 800 megawatts of power has so far been added to the country's generation mix. If this statement is anything to go by, this should be good news for businesses as they can now be more assured of regular power supply for the operations. Regarding the oil sector, he mentioned that over $200 million worth of contracts have been awarded to some 321 indigenous companies out of the 400 in the upstream sector. In the agri sector, President Mahama revealed government has initiated moves to boost the production of coffee, palm oil, and share for export to the benefit of the economy.
The government, through the Ghana Cocoa Board, intends to increase Ghana's annual coffee production from the current level of about 6,000. If you didn't know it, we export coffee. We export about 6,000 metric tons a year. We intend to increase this from 6,000 metric tons to 100,000 metric tons in the short to medium term. The government, through Ghana Cocoa Board, is promoting coffee cultivation in areas considered as marginal for cocoa production. Communities like Techiman, Wenchi, Bechem, Onkranza, Atebubu, Kwame Danso, Drobo, Akomadan, Ofenso, Jamase, Mampong, Ashanti, Ketekrachi, and Dambai are being targeted for aggressive promotion of coffee cultivation.
President Mahama also reiterated government's commitment not to overspend this election year. According to him, this year's budget deficit target of 5.3% of GDP calls for such greater financial discipline.
Meanwhile, the General Agricultural Workers Union is however disappointed the address failed to touch on the crop subsector.
According to the Deputy General Secretary Edward Kariwe, the president focused on plantain crops like cocoa, coffee, and palm oil at the expense of crops, rice, and granules.
Agriculture encompasses a number of subsectors, and I do not see the statement addressing all the subsectors of the agriculture sector, and that is my major concern. But then it gave part of the state of agriculture, but not completely. You know, cocoa, palm oil, and then coffee, they are tree crops, and then they are plantation agriculture. The crop subsector encompasses the cereals and the grains. You have the granules, you have the rice, you have the beans, you have all maize, and so on. That is the area. That is the crop subsector. Much was not said about that. However, if you take what he has said, one has to ask whether, to what extent can we achieve that, whether would that necessarily also address our challenges within the agriculture sector. One of the major challenges is investment in the sector. And if you take the subsectors, it is plantation agriculture that has the highest investment among the subsectors. Now, it's talking about developing or instituting a development board to deal with the palm oil. The question again is, how is that going to be done? And then what will that necessarily lead to? Will it necessarily lead to the needed investment?
Well, we have to look at other stories. And the Fulani community also in Ghana says it intends to petition President Mahama and the UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon over what they described as injustices being meted out to their folk in the country.
At a news conference on Thursday, the stated traditional authorities in some areas they have settled have not been kind to them. The Fulanis have been blamed for a number of attacks and destruction of property in parts of the country, with farmers in the Ashanti region, in particular, Agogo, mostly affected. But president of the Fulani Settlers Association of Ghana says they have been misunderstood.
Farmers in Agogo and other farming communities in the Ashanti and Eastern regions particularly have been up in arms, calling on the Regional Security Council to evict Fulani herdsmen in those areas. The natives allege the herdsmen have been causing havoc on crops and forest plantations, as well as terrorize the people with impunity. The president of the Fulani community, however, says plans to evict them are against the UN convention.
People have come to you that arms. They didn't carry barrel. They didn't arrow. They didn't carry any bow. They didn't carry any spear. They didn't carry any gun. How do you declare war on them?
But they have guns.
What if they have? You have to prove to me that they have guns. Who gives them that guns? You have to answer me. Who gives them that guns? Have you established that they have guns? If you have, who gives them? Have you find out to say that really they have those guns?
But they've been shooting people in the area.
Well, and other people have also been shooting them.
Exactly the point I'm making. So my question again, are you committed to living in peace with the people of Agogo?
Of course, we are committed more than that. The resolution now, we said that we have so many things. We are calling upon the government of Ghana. We are calling upon the chairman, the current chairman of the ECOWAS, and we are calling up the Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations. All of them, we are inviting them to give us attention, to help us to get a lasting solution to the Fulani crisis in the country.
Some Fulanis present at the news conference expressed their displeasure about the chaos in Agogo and other areas allegedly involving some of their brothers.
This issue escalating in Agogo and what have you has nothing to do with the indigenes. These are Fulanis that have moved, traveled far to Agogo. You understand? They are those. Why should you live peacefully with your people, your chief, for let's say 30 years, 40 years? Then all of a sudden, why are we not hearing these problems long about 40 years back? Why is it coming up now? Don't forget, there is drought in Nigeria. Don't forget, Cameroon is confronted with security issues. Niger is also confronted with drought. We have our people traveling down, and Ghana is becoming a safe haven.
If you get a safe haven, why don't you protect it?
That is the issue of education again. I would want to also buttress on.
Osman Bar called for calm as they work towards a lasting solution to the problem.
We have been experiencing these things, so many things of this nature.
Teenage pregnancy remains a topical issue of concern among health workers.
At the just ended annual health review for the Greater Accra region, the increase in cases of teenage pregnancy came up strongly. The Greater Accra region alone in 2015 recorded a total of 10,411 cases.
According to health professionals, there seemed to be no end in sight for the increasing cases of teenage pregnancy in the country. The Greater Accra in 2014 and 2015 saw a 6.6% increase in teenage pregnancy cases. Economic hardship coupled with literacy have been identified as major causes. Regional Director of Health, Dr. Linda Van Otu, stressed the need for an urgent stakeholder collaboration.
One of the areas of concern to the region, and I believe to the whole country, is adolescent or teenage pregnancy. And these are real figures. The sad thing is that we have children as young as 10 to 14 years also becoming pregnant. And though we see a reduction, it is still not acceptable. Here it was 0.14, here it is 0.2, which means that the proportion has gone up. So it is not acceptable. And this is key because just 2 weeks ago, there was an international conference here in Ghana where they are looking at ending child marriages. One of the things we need to be able to do is to see what proportion of these teenagers are married, and that will help in addressing child marriages. So as a region, our proportion has stayed at 6.6, and we had over 10,000 children or adolescents, 10 to 19, becoming pregnant. And there are various reasons for this. Most of it economic, others are yet to be found.
Though there seemed to be a reduction in maternal mortality, stakeholders in health say they will improve on antenatal services and collaborate closely with private health sectors.
Now, when you look at the maternal mortality, we quote it as per 100,000 live births. And as a region, we are improving. We are on the downward trend, which means that if you take 100,000 women who delivered live births, the number that unfortunately died is going down. But we are not happy with the absolute figures, and so we are doing a lot to improve. Now, it will interest you to know that in this day and age, we sometimes have women brought in dead, pregnant women brought in dead, and that should not happen.
And what is accounting for?
Well, some of them go to prayer camps. Some of them go to other places. Some of them, when they are referred, they do not want to go. So that tells us that we need to improve upon our antenatal because we have quite a number of them coming. And we are going to also work closely with the private sector, whether it's a maternity home or a hospital. And we are addressing these things, and we have what we call the pregnancy school. Now, at the pregnancy school, we don't just talk to the pregnant woman. We talk to the spouse. We talk to other people so that they would help her to take that decision of going to the hospital.
In spite of the numerous challenges faced by the Greater Accra Regional Health Directorate, the region appears to have achieved a significant reduction in neonatal deaths. The region has seen 76% reduction, which, according to the Directorate, was made possible through key intervention such as Project 5 for Life, Kangaroo Mother Care, and infection prevention. Matilda Pumagan for Joy News, Accra.
Over 500 pupils of the Perisi MA Primary School in the Wa municipality of the Upper East region are without furniture.
The pupils lie prostrate on the dirty bare floor to write and take lessons with implications for their health, with ventilation and visibility in the classrooms also very poor. The pupils are compelled to congregate on the bare floor right in front of the blackboard, leaving the teacher with limited space to move about. Authorities and pupils of the school are appealing to government and other benevolent organizations to come to their aid. Rafiq Salam has more.
Class 1 pupils of Perisi MA Primary School marched into their classroom with beaming smile and excitement. Their excitement was, however, cut short when they were asked by their teacher to sit for the day's lesson to begin. Only 2 of the 56 pupils in this classroom can boast of a table and a chair. They were bought by their parents. The rest has to depend on the dirty bare floor here. The fortunate ones have the walls of the classroom to lean on with their legs stretched, thereby inconveniencing their colleagues who sit in front of them. In that case, the teacher is able to move with cheeky ease. The situation is, however, different when they are given class exercise to do. They lie prostrate on the bare floor like packed sardines with their books in front of them while they do the class exercise. Hardly could the teacher get an inch of space to walk through to supervise the class exercise. Diedon Rosina is the headmistress of the Percy MA Primary School.
The teachers cannot move because they are all lying down. When the teacher even move and don't take time, the teacher will fall. So the teacher work is very difficult. And a very effective teacher need to walk around when children are working. And looking at the children, you see that lazy children will be at the back and they are playing while the rest are learning. So, in effect, the learning, there's no effective learning in the P1 and at the lower primary level.
The situation is same for all classes in the lower primary. Apart from getting waist pains as a result of sitting or lying on the floor to write, they also have their school uniforms torn, sometimes exposing their vital parts. What's more, they normally get cold, which always take them to the hospital. Idris Barkisu is a primary 3 pupil of the school.
When we lie down, the handwriting, you can't write well. So we want chairs and tables. Our uniforms dirty. Every day we wash our uniforms.
In the upper primary, the pupils have outnumbered the number of furniture here, forcing them to sit 3 in a dual decks instead of 2. Some of the dual decks are on the verge of broken and others have crooked stands, thereby making it difficult to sit in. Another area of concern is the poor visibility and ventilation in the classrooms.
Those that are having sighting problem will have to move closer to the board and even try to pull the teacher down, because they will go to the teacher and the teacher around the teacher where the teacher is, children are sleeping all around, so the teacher can easily even fall.
The inhuman conditions, according to the teachers in the school, are not encouraging enough for them to put in their best.
I was so discouraged because I've been teaching for the past almost 30 years in the service, and to see this mess, I'm not happy, I'm discouraged. Sometimes the teaching as a profession, I feel that if I was you, I would leave the teaching service because the situation is not encouraging us as teachers to teach. I have appealed to the assembly, I have called the MC to this school to see things for himself. I've called the assembly member for this place. They are all in the known of this situation. So I'm appealing to a wider, maybe the government to come to our aid.
Reporting for J News, Rafik Salam, Percy.
And now wait for the news this morning. Next, we have to look at all the stories on the front and back page of newspapers. And so we'll also try and touch base with the various news portals we have for the morning. But you have a couple of messages?
Yeah, I have.
They finished loading?
I'm trying to pull down the messages. So, but this story filed by Rafik Salam from Y is one that I will bring back again. I've got lots of comments on that. It's a shame. We have to look for the particular constituency
MP
and speak to the MC and the Member of Parliament seriously. How can you allow school children to just on the bare floor and write and study in the classroom?
Right.
I mean, this shouldn't be happening, and shame on any leader in that particular constituency. It's a shame. You should be able to raise funds from wherever, even if you don't have your common funds, to fix this situation. And this must be fixed for the people in that particular constituency. This must be fixed before the elections. I will join you on this kind of agenda.
Okay, so we're giving hashtag now. No Percy school fixing.
I'm taking the Percy situation very personal.
No Percy hashtag. Let's put no Percy school fixing, no vote.
Exactly.
If you know you're from there, please give us a comment.
Yeah.
We want to get
even if you don't comment, this is what we'll do for our own children, for the sake of the children who will be competing with other children from the other regions who live in better conditions, who study in proper classrooms and sit on proper seats to learn in better conditions. Seriously, this shouldn't be happening. We will come back with a lot more. Stay with us. It's the Friday edition of the AM Show.